Hey there. All right. So this week, coming to you with your weekly wisdom email, I wanted to talk a little bit about um, hunger in the evenings because I get this one a lot from athletes. And so, just some things to think about, some troubleshooting strategies that can really help when you're feeling like the evening comes around and you just can't feel satiated. You're kind of grazing and snacking through the night. There's a couple of things that we can troubleshoot. And I do this with one on one clients and helping them strategize so that they can feel energized, so that they can feel satisfied. It can be challenging to meet our needs as an athlete and to know what we need and how much we need in terms of food. So, if you find yourself in the evening feeling snacky, feeling like you can't fulfill that hunger no matter what you eat, and you're snacking and grazing through the night, a couple of things to think about. One, don't beat yourself up because as an athlete, you do have higher needs. You're expending more energy, and hunger is a really amazing body wisdom cue of, hey, maybe we're not getting what our body needs. And it could be at a level of um, the macronutrients, so the large nutrients that we're consuming. So, carbohydrates, protein, and fat, those are our major nutrients that contribute within our diet and the energy sources. Or it might even be micronutrients, right? So it could be a combination of both of those. But if we're feeling that hunger into the evening, one of the things that might be going on is we're not balancing out our nutrition throughout the day, and we're not consuming balanced meals throughout the day. So oftentimes, when I'm connecting with athletes, it might be that we're training through lunchtime. We train early on in the morning. And so we just don't have that appetite heading into training. So we might have a snack in the morning, but we don't really have a balanced breakfast in the morning. So thinking about, are we incorporating 3 balanced meals a day? And when I say balanced, I'm meaning incorporating carbohydrates, protein, and fat, all 3 important macronutrients, in a good balanced way so that you're fueling your body and you're providing that energy that it really needs throughout the day. Because so often, if we're skipping meals earlier in the day, it's like our body's playing catch up later in the day. And that's where that grazing and persistent hunger into the evening oftentimes comes from. So, strategy number one is, are we getting 3 balanced meals a day? And how are we spacing out our nutrients throughout the day? So, thinking about that component. The strategy number two I actually went into as well is thinking about skipping meals. So, nutrient balance at meals, but are we skipping meals? Are we missing that opportunity to get those nutrients that we need to maintain our performance and our energy levels throughout the day? Strategy number three is thinking about the quality of food that we're incorporating. If we're incorporating a lot of more processed food sources that might not be super high quality, fiber rich options. So, thinking about more things that are coming in packages and boxes and things like that, they don't always contain all of those essential macro and micronutrients, especially micronutrients. A lot of times, when our food goes through that processing piece, it loses a lot of those micronutrients. Sometimes they're added back in, sometimes they are added in even if they weren't there to help kind of create more of a nutrient dense food profile. But really important to think about the fiber content of our food. Remember when we've talked about carbohydrates? If we are incorporating carbohydrates outside of training, outside of competition, fiber rich carbohydrates is really what we want to be aiming for. And those are going to be more of our wholesome food sources of carbohydrate, because they're going to not only give that macronutrient of carbohydrate, but also the micronutrients. So our body can't say, hey, Bethany, you don't have enough vitamin D, or you're not getting enough omega 3s. It's just saying, red light, I'm not getting enough food of what I need, whatever nutrient that is. I need more food in general to fulfill those needs. And so sometimes that hunger is coming out of just not consuming quality foods to actually achieve both the macronutrient needs and also those micronutrient needs. So, tip number 4 is thinking about overall portion sizes, right? So, thinking about that balanced plate, and this is sometimes where a sports dietitian can come in and help, because a lot of athletes are like, I'm not sure how much I need. I don't know what that looks like in terms of food. And sometimes there's a little bit of fear around making sure that we're getting enough but not having too much, especially if an athlete's going through an injury. There's always a little bit of hesitation, and I don't want to over fuel, I don't want to over nourish my body. And so sometimes there's some hesitation in that. And so if we're feeling that hunger, maybe playing around with those portion sizes, maybe we're not getting enough with our meals to really feel satisfied throughout the day, and that hunger is kind of catching up at night. So that kind of goes along with that balance of nutrients. And then the fifth piece. So the fifth piece is kind of that mind body nutrition piece that I like to incorporate, because sometimes we get into that good food, bad food mentality. And as an athlete, we feel like we need to be eating clean 100% of the time. And certainly, quality of food is important, but also it's really important that we're incorporating foods that we really enjoy, and we're also finding balance. So, ice cream can still make it into the mix. Cookies, pumpkin pie is one of my favorites. Crackers, things like that. They all play a role in terms of fueling, and so it's important that we're not being overly restrictive of the foods that we're including, because sometimes that can create that hunger and those cravings if we're feeling like those foods are off limits. So thinking about that from a humanistic perspective and human physiology, when we're feeling, and human psychology more so, when we're feeling like we're restricting and we can't have something, usually our reaction is we want it 10 times more, right? So when we're feeling like I can't have ice cream, I can't have ice cream, I can't have ice cream, and then all of a sudden one day you sit down and you eat a half a tub of ice cream because there was just that immense building of craving. So really important that we're not always focusing on eating clean 100% of the time. We have to find that balance and incorporate all sorts of foods that you enjoy in a way that's going to support your psychological health, your emotional well-being, as well as your physical well-being. So that's really my passion as a performance and sports dietitian, but also as a certified mind-body eating coach. It's not just about the performance piece. It's not about being robotic in what we do. It's really about finding that balance. So let's review the 5 tips before I close out today. So number one is making sure that you're getting balanced meals. This is going to be important. These 5 tips are going to be really important in terms of if you're experiencing that hunger in the evening and you're grazing a lot. First, look at, how are my meals balanced? Am I getting carbs, protein, and fat along with breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Tip number 2, am I skipping any of those meals? So not only balance within those meals, are there meals that maybe I'm skipping throughout the day that might be leading to more hunger in the evening? Tip number 3 is quality of food. So what types of foods am I incorporating? And am I incorporating fruits and veggies? Those are really important for those micronutrients, those vitamins and those minerals. Am I incorporating whole grains, beans and legumes, nuts and seeds, lean protein sources, a good variety of different nutrients to make sure that my body is not only getting the calories and the macronutrients it needs, but also the micronutrients that it needs. So tip number 4 kind of goes off of tip 1 and 2, thinking about balanced meals, thinking about eating consistently, not skipping meals. And then the other piece that goes along with that is portion sizes. So like I said, sometimes athletes are eating like more of a snack for breakfast because they have early morning training. But thinking about that and reminding ourselves, is that really a meal or is this more of a snack? And should I really make sure that I'm getting in those 3 meals in whatever creative way that is to make sure that I'm meeting my needs? And then tip number 5 is really thinking about not being overly restrictive, not feeling like you need to be clean 100% of the time. It's all about balance. Really, really super important. We can't eat clean 100% of the time. You shouldn't feel guilty for incorporating those foods because that only creates more internal negative dialogue and negative emotion around food. So, how do we create that healthy relationship with food? That's not only going to allow you to perform best in sport, but also transpire into life. So, those are the 5 tips. If you're experiencing that hunger sneaking in, frequent grazing at night, what can you do? How can you troubleshoot? And if you want to connect and learn more about working together one on one and troubleshooting things together, don't hesitate to sign up for a free discovery call. We can chat through a little bit of the challenges that you're experiencing and talk a little bit about my coaching and opportunities there. All right. So have a fabulous week, and I will talk to you soon.